one of the things that came up this week, I should say, as a result of Oklahoma knocking off Alabama a week ago, after we saw these college football playoff rankings, after we saw that Oklahoma had climbed all the way up to number 8, this was an opportunity in week 13 for Oklahoma to reinforce its standing as a potential college football playoff team. Missouri got Bo Prabula back, right? He's been injured for a while. Bo Prabula comes back. Missouri's got a pretty good defense. They've got a beast of a ground assault. There was, I think, a real train of thought here, and you and I spoke to this when we did the preview, that maybe Oklahoma is going to be sitting in a bit of a letdown spot. This game was at home, but this was, for Mizzou, sort of like a last gasp to try and get one over on the SEC, not to necessarily play for anything conference-wise, but if only to assert themselves and have a real impact on the conference race and make their mark on things here down the stretch.
And win their first game against a team with a winning record, despite being ranked.
You
and
said
having
it, not me.
A signature win against Kansas. And it's always good for Mizzou to beat Kansas, let's be clear. And it's always good for Kansas to beat Mizzou. But also, we have a conversation about, like, they have this many wins over ranked teams, and they beat number 22 or whatever Mizzou. And also, Mizzou is not that good. So, I don't know. Oklahoma-Mizzou was a rock fight, which we talked about. Oklahoma was not able to move that ball consistently, though they did have a very impressive long touchdown pass. I believe it was Mateer to Isaiah Satania.
Yeah.
Isaac Satania. Yeah.
Isaiah Satania. Yeah.
Isaiah Satania. Okay. Got it right first time. And Mizzou is basically counting on its defensive front and its defense as a whole doing enough to help the offense accidentally score more than Oklahoma. That was essentially the best hope. Obviously, Ahmad Hardy is incredible for Mizzou, but he doesn't call plays. He doesn't throw passes. He doesn't block and occupy all 5 positions on the offensive line. Mizzou could not throw the ball, and literally, it looked like Bo Prabula struggled to throw the ball at times coming back from injury. I think he was listed as questionable before this game. It was not probable. He was not listed as playing. So this was I think, near game time decision, and Bo Prabula just did not look like an upper 2/3 of the SEC level quarterback in this one. And maybe that's a health thing. That maybe it's, being rusty from missing as much time as he has.
I mean, hell,
injury.
When Mateer came back from his injury, albeit a different kind of injury, that was
Definitely.
his hand. But, when Mateer came back for that Texas game, he didn't look the part either.
Yeah.
That was not his best game. This was truly a rock fight.
Yeah.
There were 12 punts. There was a total between both teams of 577 yards, obviously 23 total points. The final score was 17-6 in favor of Oklahoma. There were large chunks of this game that felt like it was an Iowa game.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that as a pejorative, but just two decent defenses, obviously, at a minimum decent defenses, good, very good at best, making it very ugly.
I mean, it felt like a 2011 SEC game between two teams who weren't in the SEC, were about to be in the real old school SEC.
So I think there were a couple stories that came out of this one for me. The first is that Bo Prabula did play.
Yeah.
And I disagree a little bit. I thought he looked okay, given that he was coming back from injury and given that, the status was questionable pretty much all week. But the problem was that they needed more than okay.
Yes.
To beat a team, to beat a defense this good, they needed a superstar, and he wasn't that today. That doesn't mean he can't get there, but he wasn't there in this football game. And they needed the superstar because Oklahoma shut down Ahmad Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
They shut down the Mizzou rushing attack. They got constant pressure on Bo Prabula. They sacked him 4 times. They picked him off twice. So this was, again, I think more to the point, the way that Oklahoma has chosen to win games this year. They are not scoring 30 points a game. This is not a dynamic offense, though the offense has dynamic players. This is a team that is led by its defense, with a defense-first head football coach in Brent Venables, who's been very good at coaching defense over the years. This is how they have chosen to win, and they are now one step away, one win away. All they got to do is beat LSU, who, by the way, struggled with Western Kentucky tonight. You beat LSU, you're in the playoffs. You're probably hosting a first-round game in Norman against, right now I think it's set up as Notre Dame, could be a number of teams depending on how things shake out these last 2 weeks. So, I'm not exactly sure how to feel about Oklahoma in that situation, which maybe we can talk about here, but at least within the context of this one, they were just kind of suffocating with their defense, and Mizzou just didn't feel like they could get anything going. No momentum on offense whatsoever.
By the way, I think this is how you should and everybody should feel about Oklahoma, because coming into the season, we looked at the schedule and we said Michigan, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, Ole
I
Miss,
know it.
Tennessee, Alabama, Mizzou, LSU.
I know it.
And
I know it.
obviously, we understand the context of their schedule. There is a decent, I'd say there's a good to very good chance they're about to go 10-2 against this schedule and go to the college football playoff.
Which is
That's
wild.
that's
It's
you
wild.
should feel incredible about Oklahoma. You said they're not a 30-point per game team. Their offense has not scored 30 points once in the
No.
SEC. Right? They had a defensive touchdown against Tennessee to go to 33. So you should feel incredible about the job that Oklahoma has done with Brent Venables, winning in a very specific way, weathering what could have been a catastrophic quarterback injury. This has been nothing short of a terrific season for Oklahoma. Not always pretty.
No.
Somehow
it just needs to work, though, right?
it just needs to work. By the way, here's the sidebar here. 4th and 3, Mizzou, I want to say in the red zone or near the red zone. They decide to call a timeout, get a perfect plan to go for it on 4th and 3. Then Brent Venables calls a timeout. And then Mizzou comes out and attempts the field goal and misses the field goal. And at that moment, I said to myself, I don't know if I love Mizzou long-term under Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know if this is the guy. He came out after the game and said, they saw our look on offense. And we were like, I guess they saw it. We got a kick now. It's like, man, what a depressing turn of events if you're a Mizzou fan there. And I think they had the lead in that moment.
Right.
3-0. So I don't know. Really nice win for Oklahoma, and they have a really nice opportunity to put a cherry on top of an impressive season next week against LSU.
Against LSU, they're in a really, really good spot. If they win next week, they are all but certainly in the playoff. They are all but certainly hosting a first-round playoff game, notably without having to play in the SEC title game.
Yeah, great.
Which I still think is kind of an advantage. I really like the spot for Oklahoma. And to your point, look, when I say I don't know how to feel about Oklahoma, I don't know the extent to which we can trust this style of play the deeper they get into the playoff. But clearly, they have done well enough, given their schedule, using that defense as their primary weapon to get them to a point now on the precipice of 10-2. So regardless of how pretty it looks, the numbers sort of speak for themselves. The wins are there. Mm-hmm. And to the earlier point, given the schedule, that's a pretty damn good accomplishment for Brent Venables, especially given that brought in a bunch of new talent, was very much on the hot seat coming into this season. Yeah. The schedule looked very formidable. It was formidable. To get to this point now where they're, a stone's throw away from making the postseason, regardless of whether they go into the postseason and win or not, that's, I think, beside the point. That they could go 10-2 against this is quite an accomplishment.
Buddy,
so good for them.
They went 6-6 and lost to Navy in a bowl game last year.
I know.
Oklahoma fans should be running into the streets screaming naked.
I know it.
Drinking nectar dripping from clouds. Everything is great.
I know it, man. Yeah, good for them.